Pete Carroll is out as head coach in Seattle.
No.
What?
Wow. That just came through the wire.
Hold the phone. There had been 6 coaches fired around NFL teams in this 2023 season that has crept into 2024. The most recent one, Mike Vrabel of the Tennessee Titans, happened yesterday. Shocked the world. And now, on this, Wednesday, January 10th, 2024, Pete Carroll is fired as the head coach of the Seahawks.
Holy shit.
That did great. That went really, really well. ZD baby, we definitely do miss you. Gumpy's doing his best and fantastic job. Did he get fired? Did he part ways? Did he retire? What the hell happened?
Oh, Rap Sheet just said, don't be surprised if he lands upstairs in Seattle. So maybe this is,
It's a Bill situation.
Brad Stevens.
Yeah, Brad
situation.
Stevens going from head coach to president of basketball operations. Yep.
Okay. Congrats to Pete Carroll then.
Yeah.
I assume this is a move that he wanted to make if this is what he was going to do. Pete Carroll out as Seahawks coach, but potentially still in the building is the current report as we see it at this time, 2:16 Eastern Standard Time. If anything ends up being different, we apologize for having it wrong. This is the information that is currently at hand. Pete Carroll's still in the building, still around the culture that he had built. I assume that they know the type of coach that they would like to get. And Pete Carroll just wants to back off the day-to-day operations, you think, as a head coach, AJ Hawk?
Maybe. I know he had made some kind of weird comments, was it yesterday or the day before, about like, I'm here as, I don't know, like as far as I know, I will be here or whatever. But I would think he already has somebody that he would want. If he's moving up to the front office, it sounds like it's obviously pretty mutual that he has somebody he wants to be the next head coach that's already on staff.
But the other day when he was interviewed, he said he expects to be back as the coach next year, I thought. So I don't know if this was
Well, they ask him questions, though. They ask him questions. What are you going to say? Like,
Yeah, but also, did he even know at that time?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I mean. They were like, Pete, hey, we have a job here for you, but it's not as head coach anymore.
Exit interviews, that's how it went?
I just don't see
There's
it.
no way this is the first time he's hearing of it, though. They had to at least talk about it before 2 days ago.
Backwards hat, dancing in the locker room, seemingly loving his life as a head
Swinging
coach.
it, spinning it. And he obviously can relate to guys. You know, he was great on the college level. Obviously, you got to be a great recruiter there. Practices, spinning it. I just can't see him still being that involved with the game. But
It says advisor, and then it just got sent to the group. The Seahawks released a statement.
Okay, let's read the Seahawks statement here.
Pulling it up.
If he's an advisor, has any say at all, it would be really nice to hear him talk from a different angle.
Yeah.
Like what I think our team needs to do, or what we're thinking about doing, or maybe different players and scouting and what he thinks of his guys. After thoughtful meetings and careful consideration for the best interests of the franchise, we have amicably agreed with Pete Carroll that his role will evolve from head coach to remain with the organization as an advisor. Pete is the winningest coach in Seahawks history, brought the city its first Super Bowl title, and created a tremendous impact over the past 14 years on the field and in the community. His expertise and leadership in building a championship culture will continue as an integral part of our organization moving forward. Pete will always be a beloved member of the Seahawks family. Okay, so they just kind of got here through conversations. I wonder what started it, what sparked it. Was Pete maybe the one that said, do I want to commit to another year? Seemingly not. Did the Seattle Seahawks have to say, like, hey, we're thinking maybe something different in the locker room to move forward, and we still want you around to be an advisor? Is he an advisor to the coach? Is he an advisor to the GM? Is he an advisor to the owner? I hear so many questions right now, and Pete Carroll is seemingly fired as the head. Oh, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. I don't want to say that.
If he accepts this new role, whatever it may be, there can't be too much animosity. If they said, "Hey, we're gonna let you go as the head coach, but we want you to be around and have a role and stay with the program and the franchise," if he was pissed, he obviously would say, "No, I'm going to go coach somewhere else."
Yeah, but what if it was I don't want to say it was his only option, because Pete Carroll would have an option to do whatever he wanted.
For sure. What about the players, though? Like, if a lot of those guys still wanted to play for him, and then he's still around and they're seeing him all the time, and you have a separate head coach, like, I'm sure they didn't go and ask many of the players, but, like, isn't that kind of a weird situation, too?
Talking about, like, two quarterback situation. How did the Celtics handle it with Brad Stevens and Missoula?
It was pretty easy. It was Brad Stevens to Ime Udoka to Missoula, but, I mean, the team was the same. So, like, as much as it was a change at
Well, I
coach,
think that's what Ty's saying.
Yeah, so, like, would that be something where they hire in-house? So
Because,
that's
like,
not
Dan
bringing
Quinn,
in someone.
like a lot of these
was
guys.
Ime in the building?
Yeah, Ime. No, he's with the Nets.
Didn't that happen in Arizona kind of with Bruce Arians?
Well, it happened in Tampa, and that's what I mean. It's like it's always like a weird situation because then it's like, as the new guy, is he accepting of it? Like, does he feel like he's getting like someone's over his shoulder looking, and then like every time something goes bad, it's like, well, it was working. It was working pretty good, Now it's not. So like, I don't know how this is going to go.
That's why I said out of football. Like you wonder if it's more so the fact that like he wants to spend more time with his family and like his grandkids. Like when was the last time Pete Carroll wasn't coaching football? 1990.
Isn't his son on the staff?
Mm-hmm. He is up there in age. Hurt Saban kind of said when you get to this point, every year
72.
You get to that point where you reevaluate things.
What did Bruce do whenever he was the advisor? He's giving speeches.
He was yelling at Marcus Lattimore on the sideline of the Saints game when they got in that massive fight.
I remember that. He was also on a golf cart.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right behind a couple different times
during training camp. But I don't think he was like really actively coaching or helping out. Like I think he was just kind of helping out Jason, the GM, and just kind of.
You see him at practice.
Upstairs. Exactly.
Question for you about the Seattle Seahawks situation. Obviously, we know that you're pretty plugged in over there. At least you know some people that would at least know something. This is a shocker. Everybody has broken the news as shocker. Pete Carroll out as Seahawks head coach. Then it moved forward to he could possibly remain in the building. Now it is being reported by the Seahawks that they amicably agreed to have him be an advisor with the franchise. He'll always be a beloved member here. How did we get here, and why do you think this is taking place? He's not going to be with the team on a day-to-day basis looking over the shoulder of Dan Quinn, the new head coach, or he's with the GM. How's it all work out, you think, from where we sit right now, Schultz?
Yeah, I think the first thing is it's hard to believe, but he's the oldest coach in the league at 72 years old. He's been there for decades, obviously, been to Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl, but this was still a complicated scenario on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis in the sense that Pete Carroll, despite being the head coach, fellas, really had operating control of the franchise. It wasn't just John Schneider. Pete Carroll had the final word as the head coach. He had the power. And I think that was part of the power struggle, but also the fact that Pete Carroll at this point in his career, I think I don't know if he had the same level of energy. We always talk about Pete Carroll being this rah-rah guy, obviously having tremendous success. But when I talk to some of the players, they would tell me, listen, players would recognize that Pete Carroll's message, they wouldn't say the word stale, but they would say sometimes they felt like maybe it was time to move on. I've had players tell me that over the past couple of years. Not trying to be disrespectful of Pete, but just the fact that they have experienced the same coach, the same message for so long. And then I've also talked to former players, Michael Bennett, Cliff Avrils, and as much as they respect Pete, they would tell me at some point, maybe it would be in the best interest of the franchise to perhaps consider moving on at some point in the near future.
Schultz, I know what Rap Sheet said he was shocked by this. Was there any rumblings of this, any kind of rumors or anything floating around during the season?
Not necessarily during the season, but I think right when the season ended and they missed the playoffs, they obviously were very close. You started to feel that. And then he said something interesting the other day. He said, yes, I plan to be back next season, or that's the plan. Then he kind of countered it or qualified it by saying, that's the plan right now. That was a little bit fishy to me. And I think also you have a built-in replacement, right, potentially in Dan Quinn, who I know would love to be back in Seattle. He was a big part as an architect of the Legion of Boom. They obviously had a lot of success there. He has now been with Atlanta and then subsequently with Dallas as the DC, is getting interest from around the league. But I can tell you point blank that Dan Quinn is a built-in replacement, natural replacement for Pete Carroll.
Okay, so Pete Carroll goes in for his exit meetings and they say, sit down, 72-year-old Pete. Okay?
Well, I don't think it was so much of – listen, this is so early. I got to dive into this. But to me, I don't think it was so much of them saying, Pete, you're out, Jody Allen saying, Pete, you're out, but a mutual parting of ways. And like you said, he'll still remain on to a degree with the organization. He has that type of respect. This is a Hall of Fame coach who's won at every level. But I don't believe, Pat, it's not my understanding that they were just saying, Pete, we want you out. I think, similar to what's going to happen or what is happening currently with Bill Belichick in New England, when you have that type of relationship and that type of success, this is a long process of communication. And you can't just say overnight, I want him out. You have to have both sides be willing to do it.